So, get this, listeners. You sent in some research, and it's about the autonomic nervous system.
Oh, yeah.
But specifically, this idea that it can be categorized as either excited or passive.
Yeah.
And apparently, figuring out which one kind of dominates your body can unlock all sorts of insights about your health, your sleep, even weight loss.
Interesting.
So, I am very intrigued, and lucky for us, we have expert speaker here to break it all down for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
We are going to dive deep into this concept. And the source material we're using is a video from the Metabolismo TV YouTube channel. It's called ¿Qué tipo de sistema nervioso tienes?
Okay.
Which translates to what type of nervous system do you have?
I like it.
And by the end of this, you'll not only be able to identify which type you have, but also understand what it means for your day-to-day life.
That's what we like. Okay, so before we get into excited versus passive, can you give us a quick rundown of what the autonomic nervous system even is?
Yeah. Think of it as the ultimate behind-the-scenes manager in your body. It's constantly working, 24/7, to control things you don't even have to think about, like your heartbeat, breathing, digestion, even temperature regulation.
Right, so it's like our body's own personal autopilot, making sure everything runs smoothly. No wonder it's called autonomic.
Yeah.
It's doing its thing, whether we're aware of it or not.
Exactly. And to make it even more interesting, this system has two parts. The excited system, which is also known as the sympathetic nervous system, and the passive system, or the parasympathetic nervous system.
Got it. Now, we all have both of these, right? It's not like you're one or the other.
Absolutely. It's more about which one tends to be the dominant force in your body.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we figure out which system is calling the shots for us? The source we're looking at today lays out 5 indicators.
Yeah, like a little quiz.
That can point to a dominant, excited nervous system.
Exactly. So, okay.
To decode your inner wiring.
Love that. And the first clue is whether you have trouble digesting red meat.
Red meat. Why would that be connected to an excited nervous system?
Well, the excited system is all about prepping your body for action, that classic fight or flight response. When it's activated, digestion actually slows down because your body is diverting energy to your muscles and systems needed for, well, survival.
Right. So if someone with a dominant excited system eats a big steak, their body might struggle to break it down because their digestion is on the back burner. We got bigger things to worry about than this T-bone.
Exactly. It's fascinating how our ancient biology still plays a role in our modern lives.
Yeah.
Now, the second indicator is similar. It's about how your body handles fatty foods.
Okay.
If you tend to get digestive issues after eating something high in fat, that could be another sign.
Interesting. Okay, that tracks with the whole fight or flight thing. Fat takes longer to digest, so an excited system might not want to deal with that when it's trying to stay alert.
Precisely. Quick energy sources over anything that might slow you down.
Makes sense. So red meat and fatty foods, those are 2 potential clues. What's the next thing we should be looking out for?
This one is about the timing of your meals.
Okay.
If you find that eating late at night messes with your sleep or your digestion, it could point to a dominant excited system.
That actually rings true for me. I've noticed if I eat too close to bedtime, I have a harder time falling asleep and sometimes wake up feeling a bit off.
Yeah, that's a common experience for people with a more excited nervous system. Remember, their bodies are naturally wired for alertness, especially in the evening. From an evolutionary standpoint, that's when predators might be more active.
Oh, wow. So even though we're not usually dodging saber-toothed tigers these days, our nervous systems might still be holding on to that ancient programming.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
It is. Okay, so we've got trouble digesting red meat, issues with fatty foods, and problems with late-night eating. What's the 4th indicator on this nervous system checklist?
This one focuses on sleep quality itself. Are you a light sleeper? Easily awakened by noises? If so, that could be another sign of a dominant, excited system.
Right, because if your system's geared towards alertness, it's going to be more tuned in to any potential threats. Even when you're trying to sleep, it's like your internal alarm system is always set to high.
A passive nervous system, on the other hand, is more likely to tune out those subtle sounds and allow for a deeper, more restful sleep.
Makes sense. Okay, so it sounds like those of us with excited systems might want to invest in some good earplugs. All right, what is the final clue that someone might have this dominant excited wiring?
The 5th indicator actually builds on those sleep-related ones.
Okay.
Think about whether you have trouble sleeping after eating late at night. If the answer is yes, that reinforces the link between late-night eating and an overly active nervous system.
So it's like a double whammy for the excited system, folks. Late night eating not only disrupts sleep, but makes it harder to fall asleep in the first place. It's almost like the body's saying, nope, not bedtime yet, we got energy to burn.
Exactly. And while having an excited nervous system isn't inherently a bad thing, being aware of this tendency can help you make choices that promote better digestion and sleep.
That's really good to know. I mean, as you've been talking about all of these indicators, I can't help but wonder, is there ever a time when having a more excited nervous system could be a good thing? I mean, it seems like it could be helpful in certain situations, right?
That's a great question, and one we'll definitely explore further.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground in terms of understanding the basics of the autonomic nervous system and those 5 key indicators.
We have. And now I'm even more curious to know what it means to have a dominant, excited nervous system, both the challenges and the potential upsides.
Well, stay tuned, because in the next part of this deep dive, we'll unpack all of that and more.
Can't wait. Okay, so we've learned how to spot those signs of a dominant, excited nervous system. Things like trouble digesting red meat, issues with fatty foods, sleep disruptions from late-night eating, and being a light sleeper. It's like having a built-in alarm system that's always set to high alert.
A very fitting analogy. And now we get to the heart of the matter. What does all of this mean for our overall health?
Right.
If you've been relating to those indicators, you're probably wondering what a dominant, excited nervous system looks like in everyday life.
Exactly. What are the potential downsides we should be aware of? I'm ready for the unfiltered truth.
Of course. But keep in mind, these are tendencies, not guarantees. Not everyone with a dominant, excited system will experience all of these things, but they are patterns that frequently emerge.
Okay, fair enough. So what's at the top of the list?
Back pain is a big one, both upper and lower back pain. It's incredibly common in people with an excited system.
Now that seems counterintuitive. Why would an excited nervous system lead to more back pain? Wouldn't it be the opposite?
Think of it this way. When your excited system is in overdrive, your muscles are constantly tense and ready for action. Over time, that chronic tension can lead to stiffness, pain, and even structural problems in the spine. Imagine holding your breath all the time. Eventually, something's got to give.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It really highlights the importance of finding ways to release that tension and calm the system down.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that need calming down, sleep issues are another major hallmark of a dominant, excited nervous system. We touched on this with the late-night eating connection, but it goes beyond that. People with this wiring often struggle to fall asleep, stay asleep, or achieve that deep, restorative sleep that's so crucial for our health.
It's like their minds are racing even when they're exhausted and trying to wind down, almost like their internal engine is still revving even when they're parked in the garage.
That's a great way to put it. And when you don't get enough quality sleep, it sets off a cascade of negative effects on everything, from your mood and energy levels to your hormone balance and immune function. It's like a domino effect. One imbalance leads to another.
Ugh, a real vicious cycle. So back pain and sleep issues are 2 big ones. What else should we be aware of?
Arthritis is another condition that often crops up in people with a dominant, excited system. And again, it goes back to that chronic tension and inflammation that we see when the excited system is running the show.
So it's not just about wear and tear on the joints, but also this underlying inflammatory process that's being driven by the nervous system, almost like the body's constantly on defense, leading to wear and tear from within.
Precisely. And this inflammation can affect not just the joints, but also other tissues in the body, leading to a whole host of potential problems.
Okay, starting to see a pattern here. An excited nervous system seems to set the stage for a lot of chronic issues.
It does. And another big one to add to the list is high blood pressure.
Again, not surprising given the link to stress and tension. It's like your internal pressure cooker is constantly on high heat.
Exactly. When your excited system is constantly pumping out stress hormones, like adrenaline and cortisol, it puts a lot of strain on your cardiovascular system. Your heart rate and blood pressure go up. And if that becomes chronic, it increases your risk of heart disease and other serious health problems.
Okay, so we're talking back pain, sleep issues, arthritis, high blood pressure. I'm feeling a bit stressed out just hearing this list. What else do we need to know?
Well, another common issue, and this might be a bit of a surprise, is abdominal fat.
Wait, really? I always thought belly fat was more of a dietary thing. You know, too many donuts, not enough veggies.
Diet definitely plays a role,
Yeah.
but it's not the whole story. Remember that hormone cortisol we were talking about?
Yeah.
Well, when cortisol levels are chronically elevated, as they often are in people with a dominant, excited nervous system, it can actually promote fat storage, particularly around the abdomen.
Interesting. So even if you're eating relatively healthy and exercising, that underlying stress response could be working against you. It's almost like your body is in survival mode, storing fat as a way to protect itself.
It's a factor to consider, for sure. And speaking of digestion, we can't forget about constipation, which is another frequent complaint among those with a more excited nervous system.
We talked earlier about how digestion slows down during the fight or flight response. I guess it makes sense that if that response is chronically activated, things would get backed up, so to speak.
Exactly. Your body's prioritizing other functions.
Yeah.
And digestion gets put on the back burner.
Okay, we're starting to paint a pretty clear picture here of the potential health challenges that can come with a dominant, excited nervous system. Anything else we should add to this list?
Yes, actually. 2 more things come to mind, and they're both related to how our bodies respond to stress and maintain balance. The first one is nervousness and anxiety, which we've touched on a bit already.
Right.
It seems like a natural consequence of having a system that's always on high alert. It's like your internal alarm bells are constantly ringing even when there's no fire. It is, and it can manifest in a lot of different ways, from general feelings of unease and worry to more intense panic attacks or phobias.
Definitely not fun. Okay, what's the last one on our list?
This one might be less familiar to some people, but it's something that's gaining more attention in the health world. Hypothyroidism.
Okay, I've heard of hypothyroidism, but I didn't realize it could be connected to the nervous system. What's the link there?
It's a complex relationship. But essentially, when your body's under chronic stress, it can disrupt the balance of hormones that regulate your thyroid function. And since the thyroid plays such a crucial role in metabolism, energy levels, and mood, an imbalance can have a ripple effect on your overall health. Think of it like this. When your body is in fight or flight mode all the time, it diverts resources away from less essential functions, like thyroid hormone production.
So it's like your body is so busy dealing with the perceived threats that it neglects some of its other important duties. It's amazing how interconnected everything is.
It really is. But before we jump into solutions, it's important to reiterate that having a dominant, excited nervous system doesn't mean you're destined for all these conditions. It just means you might have a predisposition to them. Being aware of these tendencies can help you make proactive choices. To mitigate those risks,
okay, that's reassuring. So even if we've got an excited system running the show, there's still hope. I'm definitely ready to hear about those solutions.
Absolutely. And that's precisely what we'll explore in the next part of this deep dive.
Can't wait. I'm ready to shift gears from doom and gloom to empowerment and action. Okay, so we've explored the potential downsides of having a dominant, excited nervous system.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it was a bit heavy. But now for the good news. The part where we discover how to bring things back into balance and reclaim our health. I'm ready for some actionable advice.
Absolutely. I'm happy to share some strategies. And the great thing is, many of these recommendations are beneficial for everyone, regardless of their nervous system type. But for those with a dominant excited system, they can be especially powerful in terms of calming things down and shifting the balance toward that passive rest and digest mode.
Perfect. Where do we begin?
Let's start with diet. What we eat plays a huge role in how our nervous system functions. For folks with an excited system, the key is to focus on foods that are calming, nourishing, and easy to digest. Think lots of vegetables, especially leafy greens.
I'm hearing green smoothies loud and clear.
They're definitely a great option. Green juices are fantastic too, as they provide a concentrated dose of nutrients that can help support your body's natural detoxification processes. And of course, staying well hydrated is crucial for everyone, but especially for those with an excited system.
Right. Makes sense. What about things we should avoid or limit?
It's generally wise to minimize red meat, fatty foods, and strong spices if you have a dominant, excited system. Remember, these can be harder to digest and can put extra stress on your body when it's already in a heightened state of alertness.
Got it. Swapping out those steak dinners and spicy curries for green smoothies and veggie-packed meals. What else can we do to calm down that excited nervous system? The source mentions a couple of key minerals, right?
Yes, potassium and magnesium can be incredibly helpful.
Ah, the dynamic duo. Tell us more about why they're so important for nervous system health.
Well, magnesium is well known for its calming and muscle relaxing properties. It helps ease tension, improve sleep, and even reduce anxiety.
Okay. And what about potassium? What role does it play in all of this?
Potassium works a bit differently. It helps to activate the passive nervous system, which is exactly what we want when the excited system is running the show.
So it's like potassium is giving that passive system a much-needed boost, helping it to step in and restore some balance. I like it. So we can get these minerals through food, right?
Absolutely. Leafy green vegetables,
Yeah.
avocados, bananas, and sweet potatoes are all excellent sources of potassium. And for magnesium, you can find it in foods like almonds, spinach, dark chocolate, and black beans.
Okay, so far so good. Eating for a calmer nervous system suddenly sounds a lot more appealing. What about exercise? I know it's good for us in general, but does it have any specific benefits for balancing the nervous system?
It absolutely does. Regular exercise is one of the most effective ways to activate the passive system and bring the excited one back down to earth. It's like hitting the reset button.
Okay. But what kind of exercise is best? Should we be going for intense workouts or taking a more gentle approach?
It depends on your individual preferences and fitness level. The key is to find activities that you enjoy and that leave you feeling energized, not drained. Some people find that vigorous exercise, like running or HII workouts, helps them release pent-up energy and stress, while others prefer more calming activities, like yoga, Pilates, or swimming.
So listen to your body and choose what feels right. What about getting out in nature? Does that have any impact on the nervous system? I know I always feel more relaxed after spending time outdoors.
Being in nature is incredibly beneficial for both our mental and physical health. And when it comes to the nervous system, sunlight is particularly impactful.
Good old vitamin D.
Exactly. When we're exposed to sunlight, our bodies produce vitamin D, which plays a role in regulating mood, sleep, and even immune function.
So soaking up some rays can actually help to calm that overactive, excited system. I'm suddenly feeling a lot more motivated to get outside.
It can. Just be sure to do it safely and avoid overexposure. Now, speaking of connecting with nature, there's another practice that can be incredibly grounding and calming for the nervous system. It's called grounding or earthing.
Okay, I've heard of this. Tell us more about how it works.
It's surprisingly simple. Grounding involves making direct contact with the Earth's surface, walking barefoot on grass, sand, or soil. The idea is that this contact helps to discharge excess electrical energy from our bodies, which can have a calming and stabilizing effect on the nervous system.
Wow, I had no idea something so simple could be so powerful. It makes you wonder how much we become disconnected from these natural rhythms and how that disconnection might be contributing to all sorts of health issues.
It's a valid question, and it highlights the importance of finding ways to reestablish that connection, whether through grounding, spending time in nature, or simply paying attention to the natural cycles of day and night.
So true. Okay, what about breathing? I know deep breathing is often recommended for stress relief, but does it have an actual physiological impact on the nervous system?
It absolutely does. Deep breathing is one of the most powerful tools we have for regulating our nervous system. When we take slow, deep breaths, we increase our oxygen intake, which has a calming effect on the body. But it goes beyond that. Deep breathing also sends signals to the brain that it's time to relax and activate the passive nervous system.
So it's like we're consciously overriding that fight or flight response and telling our bodies that it's safe to chill out. I love that we have that kind of control.
Exactly. And the best part is, deep breathing is something you can do anytime, anywhere. It's free.
Yeah.
Accessible, and incredibly effective for bringing your nervous system back into balance.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. We've gone from understanding the basics of the autonomic nervous system to identifying our own dominant type and exploring a whole toolbox of strategies to bring things back into balance. I'm feeling a lot more empowered now than I did at the start of this. I think the most important takeaway is simply being aware of your own nervous system tendencies. Once you know whether you lean more towards the excited or passive side, you can start making choices that support your unique needs and promote well-being.
Absolutely. It's all about listening to your body, experimenting with different approaches, and finding what works for you. And as we've learned, even small changes can make a big difference.
So true. Now, before we wrap up, I'd love to leave our listeners with a final thought. We've talked a lot about the potential downsides of a dominant, excited nervous system, but what if there are hidden strengths to this wiring too? What if, in certain situations, that extra alertness and energy could be an advantage?
That's a fascinating question, and it speaks to the complexity of our nervous systems. There's no one-size-fits-all, and what's a challenge for one person could be a strength for another. The key is to understand our unique wiring and embrace all aspects of who we are.
Well said. A huge thank you to you for sharing your wisdom on this topic, and to our listeners. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the autonomic nervous system. We hope you've learned something new. and are feeling inspired to take charge of your health and well-being. Until next time, stay curious,